Dennis pulls his weight. One morning, Dennis was delivering some milk tankers to Kronk. He raced across the island and up Gordon's Hill. Gordon's Hill was very steep. Dennis rolled hard. It was a long climb, and his engine was straining. You see, before coming to Sodor, Dennis worked at a busy marshalling yard on the mainland, but due to his faulty engine, he kept breaking down. He was only able to shun a few wagons at a time, which led him to his laziness. Just then, Gordon arrived at the bottom of the hill. Today, the express was heavy, and Gordon had to wait for Edward to hail. "Bother," huffed Gordon. Soon, Edward puffed to the rescue. He buffered up behind Gordon. Edward pushed, and Gordon pulled. At last, the express train started to move. Dennis had finally reached the top of the hill when Gordon puffed past. "Slow, coach," Gordon huffed. "I'm trying my hardest," gasped Dennis. "Ah!" sniffed Gordon. "You're not even a proper engine." This made Dennis feel very sad. That night, Sir Topham Hatt came to see Dennis. "Tomorrow, Edward is going to the works for yearly maintenance," Sir Topham Hatt said. "You are to work at Wellsworth Yard in his place." "But I'll never be able to do Edward's job," Dennis cried. "He's a proper engine." "Nonsense," said Sir Topham Hatt. "You are one of my engines, and you must be useful." Dennis was very worried. What if he wasn't useful? The next morning, Dennis trundled nervously out of the sheds. "I hope no one needs pushing up Gordon's Hill," oiled Dennis. Dennis wished he was a proper engine. At last, Dennis arrived at Wellsworth Station. There were lots of freight cars, and they looked very heavy. "I'll never be able to shun all those," Dennis cried. "You can do it, Dennis," called Boko. That made Dennis feel much better. Then he started to shunt the freight cars. He shunted coal cars for Henry and slate cars for Donald. He even shunted fruit and vegetable cars for Douglas. "Maybe I can do it," Dennis said. But then, Gordon puffed past. He was pulling the express with lots of coaches. Dennis watched as Gordon puffed toward the hill. Gordon puffed with all his might, but once again the express was too heavy. Gordon was stuck. "Bother," he huffed. Gordon's driver called the yard manager, and the yard manager came to see Dennis. "You need to push Gordon to the top of the hill," the yard manager said. "Yes, sir," groaned Dennis. "But the express looks much too heavy for my engine to handle," Dennis said nervously. "Don't worry," Boko called. "You can do it, Dennis." "I'll do my best," he said, and he raced off to Gordon's Hill. When Gordon heard that Dennis was coming, he was very cross. "Dennis is just a lazy engine," Gordon huffed. "He won't even try to push me up the hill." Dennis buffered up behind Gordon. Then he pushed with all his might. Gordon didn't move. "Is that the best you can do?" Gordon snorted. "They should have sent a really useful engine." Dennis was about to give up, but then he remembered what Boko had said. "I can do it! I can do it!" Dennis panted. Dennis pushed harder and harder. Suddenly, Gordon's wheels started to move. Dennis kept pushing. His engine coughed and his axles ached. Gordon moved slowly up the hill. When Murdoch saw Dennis pushing, he blew his whistle with excitement. "You can do it, Dennis! Go on!" cried Murdoch. Dennis groaned and coughed and spluttered, but at last he pushed Gordon right to the top of the hill. Gordon was impressed. Now the express would run on time. Dennis was tired, but he was very proud. "I did it!" he cried excitedly. "You sure did, old boy, but the strain was too much for your engine. You'll have to go to the works to be mended." Boko soon arrived to take Dennis to the work. When they arrived, Sir Topham Hatt was there. "Well done, Dennis," he said. "Today you were a very useful engine indeed." "Thank you, sir," Dennis cried. "Now, I understand you have a faulty engine," Sir Topham Hatt continued. "Well, I have a solution. I will give you a replacement. You'll perform better in no time." Dennis was very pleased. And even though he was a one-of-a-kind engine, Dennis felt like a proper engine after all.